okay. That's okay. No, a knight's okay. Oh, Penny's knight. Not a bad knight. Not a bad knight.
Something's telling me this ain't over yet. Oh, it's not. See, I go here. Here he takes. I take. Then he moves. I can move. He takes. I take. Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. So I go back live.
Now this pawn's going to go for a queen very, very fast. Very fast. Look at it go. Charge! What a mighty pawn. What a mighty pawn that pawn is. What a mighty pawn. Nothing he could do. Absolutely nothing. He's looking at the position thinking, what can I do? What can I do? But there's no answer. There is no answer. Nothing he can do. I had a nice cup of tea this morning. No. You and other ones will play a match against this Nexus.
23-29.
Dun, 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 dun.
What? We go backwards. You tried this last time.
Percent minus.
Not a problem.
Welcome to Keeping Score. How do you judge forecasts of 30, 85, 63%? This module is all about scoring forecasts and how
Okay. I could pin him. Then he pushes the pawn. Sack.
Okay, we could take that with
Hoo 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 hoo. Right? Boom. He'll probably.
This position.
Alright, so boom.
Yeah.
He'll probably castle is the smart move. And if he castles, I boom. He takes, boom. Rook there. No, now I'm just down.
Look at that. Must you,
change coins.
Let's see, if he takes, I take. Then just trade the pawns. Oh, I kind of like pinning, though. If he goes here,
off the pin
then I
there,
take.
Knight's not.
No. I go, he goes. Take, 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 boom. Yeah, and just down a piece. I go here, boom, boom. Ooh. Go here, boom, boom, boom. I like that. Boom, boom. He'll have to defend this. But at least now I can just castle.
we measure performance. One of our founders, Phil Tetlock, wrote a book called Expert Political Judgment in 2006 that stirred up the political expert world. Based on over 25 years of research, he found that experts, so-called pundits in the media, are really no better than the famous analog of a dart-throwing chimp, in other words, someone placing random guesses. But when these experts are wrong, they are rarely held accountable, and they are still invited back to make more predictions. Phil Tetlock believes that we, as a society, be better off if participants in policy debates stated their beliefs in testable forms such as probabilities, monitored their forecasting performance, and honored their reputational bets. All of us in good judgment believe that this is fundamental to the advancement of forecasting science. In fact, from Phil Tellock's new book, we ask if it's possible to improve foresight simply by measuring, and if the rewards of improved foresight are substantial, why isn't measuring standard practice? A big part of answer to this question lies in the psychology that convinces us we know things we really don't. For centuries, it hobbled progress in medicine. When physicians finally accepted that their experience and perceptions were not reliable means of determining whether a treatment works, they turned to scientific testing. Medicine finally started to make rapid advances. The same revolution needs to happen in forecasting. Let's start by clicking next at the bottom of your screen.
Uh,
It has to be played.
When he's pawn, bishop takes.
let's see. Let's see.
This is why I move my bishop all the way back, because otherwise bishop takes knight, take bishop.
Dang, and I
on
just
the
lost that
second
pawn.
split. So I had to have a bit of a thermal thought about that one. My moves, isn't it? Let's get rid of a few pieces. Oh no, he's got knight check. Oh no, I didn't see it.
We measure the accuracy of your probability forecast using Breyer points. This works in the following way.
I just saw the
First,
knight.
reality, or the outcome of the event, is quoted as 1, meaning the event happened, or 0, if it did not happen. Second, Breyer points is about taking the square error. So, if your forecast is 0.5, in other words 50%, and the event didn't happen, reality is quoted as 0, we square the difference between your forecast and reality. What this means is that your best strategy is to report your true probability belief and not try to game the system by instead reporting an inflated or deflated probability. Why? Because the square error will punish you more for being wrong and minimize your gain for being right if you give a probability different from what you really think. Third, Breyer points is scaled from 2 to 0, 2 being the worst and 0 being the best. Your strategy here is to minimize your Breyer points. In the next page, we'll explain the calculations for Breyer points. Let's start with a simple example. Take the question, will the Dow Jones Industrial Average dip below 16,000 points in the month of August? Say in July, you forecasted a 20% probability that this would happen. On the flip side, this also means that you predicted an 80% chance of the event not happening. On August 24th, the Dow fell below 16,000 points. So what is your accuracy in Breyer points? The event happened, and your Breyer points are calculated by taking your forecast on the event occurring, that's 20%, minus the outcome squared, plus the flip side, which is 80% minus 0 squared. The sum of your errors is your Breyer points. Now let's say the event did not happen. What would be your Breyer points? You would take 80% minus the outcome, which is 1 squared, plus the flip side, which is 20% minus 0 squared. And the sum of that is 0.08, which is your Breyer points. As you can see, the closer the forecast is to the outcome of the event, the lower are the Breyer points. Are you ready for a little test? Click next.
So,
He's not threatening anything, I just chase him away. Go away. It's a silly thing to do, isn't it? He's wasting time.
Waste time against the master. Can't do that. That's insulting. Go ahead. What about you take?
Let's start with a simple example.
Looks good, doesn't it? Doesn't look good.
Check.
Castle first, then we'll take it. You gotta be careful. Why can't I take that?
Oh, we check. It's amazing.
You can just get away.
Away with it. God, he's lucky. He can get away with it just, only just.
Let's start with a simple example. Take the question, will the Dow Jones Industrial Average dip below 16,000 points in the month of August? Say in July, you forecasted a 20% probability that this would happen. On the flip side, this also means that you predicted an 80% chance of the event not happening. On August 24th, the Dow fell below 16,000 points. So what is your accuracy in Briar points? The event happened and your Briar points are calculated by taking your forecast on the event occurring, that's 20%, minus the outcome squared, plus the flip side, which is 80% minus 0 squared. The sum of your errors is your Briar points. Now let's say the event did not happen. What would be your Briar points? You would take 80% minus the outcome, which is 1 squared, plus the flip side, which is 20% minus 0 squared. And the sum of that is 0.08, which is your Briar points. As you can see, the closer the forecast is to the outcome of the event, the lower are the Briar points. Are you ready for a little test? Click next. Say you were predicting the final score of a soccer match. As the game progresses, the easier it becomes to make the prediction, mainly because you see the goals being scored and the clock starts winding down. The uncertainty surrounding the question diminishes. What we want to do is to reward early, accurate forecasters. How do we do this? We calculate Briar points over time. When a question closes, we calculate your Briar points for each day you had an active forecast. Let's look at a simple example of a question that is open for 7 days. Say on day 1, you didn't make a forecast. The same for the second day. You forecast 50% on the third day. You don't do anything on the fourth day, and your forecast gets carried over. You update your forecast to 70% on day 5. That carries over until you update again on day 7 to 60%. Now the question closes at the end of day 7, and the event happened. Your Briar points for day 1 and 2 are nothing because you didn't have an active forecast. Based on the calculation method we described earlier, you get 0.5 for day 3 and 4, 0.18 for day 5 and day 6, and on day 7 you finish with 0.32. Graphically, your briar points can be represented by color bars for each day. The smaller the green area, the more accurate. Now we have your daily briar points. Click Next to see what we do with them. We have a variety of questions, some harder to forecast than others. We need a way to even out the question difficulty levels, so we use a benchmark. For those of you familiar with the game of golf, we use the crowd to set that apart, meaning we compare your performance to that of the crowd. Let's say you pick a difficult question and you don't do too well in terms of briar points. Your performance will not be so bad if the crowd also performs poorly. Going back to the 7-day forecasting example, we take the crowd's average daily briar points. This also includes yours, and we establish a benchmark. Click Next to see how these briar points compare to yours. We calculate the difference between your briar points and the crowd's briar points to get your net briar points. Your question score becomes the daily average of your net briar points. In other words, this is the average of your remaining briar points once you subtract the benchmark. Please remember that the negative value is good because it means your briar points are lower than the crowd's. For days in questions when you have no active forecast, you will receive 0 net briar points. Continuing with our example of the 7-day forecasting question, you have active forecasts for days